Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I am Dana. We have the whole gang here tonight. Like everybody's here. We are ready to go. I've got Sonia, I've got Kate, I've got Lisa, and we're excited about this show. So for those of you who don't know, we get a little sassy when it comes to fantasy football. We have a really good time with it. So this show could be interesting. Let's just put it that way. But before we get started, before we get rolling, of course, we want to thank our fantastic sponsor. Lisa, tell us all about Donkey's Cheesesteak.
All right. Our fantastic sponsor, because every time before we come on the show, we think about Donkey's Cheesesteaks and Donkey's 2 Cheesesteaks. And they have 3 locations in Medford. Mount Holly is their new one, and they're rocking Mount Holly right now. And the original one in Camden. So be sure you get your Donkey's Cheesesteak.
I know. We're so excited. You guys, here's the thing. I've had a couple people be like, Dana, isn't it a little random that you have some cheesesteak place as your sponsor? No, that's what happens when fans own businesses and they want to support us. We greatly appreciate them. They are huge supporters of what we do, and we just absolutely love them for it. So when you head to New Jersey, hit up the spots. Go in there, tell them Our Turf sent you. They will be very excited about that. All right. So I want to give you guys a little story before we get rolling today. So I spent the weekend in Seattle. It reminded me of 2 things. 1, Seattle is impossibly beautiful. If you have never been to Seattle, it is a fantastic place to visit. 2, it reminded me also that those people still have no freaking clue how to drive. And it drives me insane to drive around Seattle. But we had a good time. It was very nice until we had to travel home. I'm telling you guys, travel is a freaking disaster right now. If you are traveling anywhere, give yourself a cushion day on either end, because we were supposed to leave yesterday. We spent all day at the airport in delays, turned around, finally got home today. I wasn't even sure if I was going to make the show, but had a great time. It was very fun. I was very happy to be back in Seattle. You know, it's weird for me living in Kansas City. Everywhere I turn, there's Chief stuff. And I'm just used to that. But when I'm in Seattle, it's Seahawks stuff. And I still get excited. I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's normal here. Like I had to kind of remind myself that that's the way it's supposed to be there. So had a really great time. It was very fun, but it really got me excited for the season. I am so ready for some football. And I think that this show is going to be a great way to kick it off. Now, first thing we're going to do tonight is we decided, well, this was Sonia's idea. This is totally Sonia's idea.
It was.
It was a great idea. He's like, you know what we should do? Because this is what team we are, is that we should just get a hat, which I have, and it's the She Knows Routes hat. Thank you, Cam Newton. And put all 32 teams in there, pick one out, and then we have to defend why they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, people, this is not just the top teams. You've got to find a reason why you're going to like this, why this team. So Sonia, we're starting with you because this was it. Yeah. So I'm just blind pull.
No whammies, and
this one's easy. The Broncos.
Okay, the Broncos.
Rigged. It's rigged.
It is rigged. See, it's because Russell Wilson is going to take the next step in his development and show everybody.
Show everybody what? Oh, Sonia, you muted yourself. What did you do?
She muted
I didn't
herself.
mute myself.
She got all excited with Russell Wilson.
Hang on. That's CC's man. Anyways, Broncos are going to win because he's going to pray it to happen. And that's why they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Pray it to happen.
He's going to pray it to happen. Hey, he prayed for Sierra. And he
I
got
want
a
everyone,
beautiful
I don't
marriage.
want anyone to get mad at us. You guys, this is all supposed to be for fun. We're all being silly. So don't anyone be like, oh, don't be disrespectful. No, that's the point of this segment, is we're going to be a little disrespectful.
We're just being a goof.
I do want to say it has been 6 years since the Broncos have made the playoffs. I think, though, by a show of hands, we all think that they probably have a pretty good chance to make the playoffs this year with their new quarterback.
I don't think they'll go on like a deep run, but I think they have at least a decent chance at the playoffs.
Oh no! You're supposed to tell us why they're going to the Super Bowl.
I told you why. Because Russell
going to pray it that way. Yeah,
but
I agree. I think it's good. All right, Lisa, you want to go next?
I'll go. Don't, please, no Detroit Lions. Please, please, please.
I'm gonna tell you why they'll go.
The Seahawks. Go, Lisa. Go, Lisa. Tell me, Lisa, why are the Seahawks going to win the Super Bowl?
Seahawks. Oh, God, their quarterbacks suck.
The one thing Lisa loves is quarterbacks. It's the one thing
Good
Seattle
Lord.
doesn't have.
But I got no franchise quarterback. I think I got an average quarterback if you know. Oh my goodness gracious. I'll say Metcalf, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett. I think wide receiver wise, if I'm going to pick why the Seahawks are going to go win the Super Bowl, is because those boys are going to go get every single ball, no matter who throws it at them. So I'm going with the wideouts for the Seattle Seahawks, Metcalf and Lockett. Lock it in.
I think
lock it in. I like that.
You know, I think Geno Smith is sick of everyone talking crap about him, so he's going to go in all in. That would be hilarious. All right, Kate, are you ready? Unmute yourself, Kate.
Drum roll.
I don't even know who it's going to be. The Saints. The Saints.
Oh, that's easy.
We didn't ever say this was going to be easy, people. Come on.
How the hell is that easy?
That's easy.
2 words.
Crab legs?
I'm
Crab
ready.
legs?
Crab legs.
You ready?
Yes, they're going to offer Jameis crab legs.
No. 2 words. Will Lutz is going to have a Pro Bowl kicking career. He is going to kick more field goals than any other team in the league, and he is going to carry that team on his leg to a championship.
MVP.
Oh my God.
MVP.
Your head. Lisa's head would explode if a kicker got
Right. If the MVP of the Super Bowl was a kicker, it would be
come on.
amazing.
Oh my God.
It should have been Adam Vinatieri that one year, right? But it wasn't, right?
Should have been.
Should have been. Who does Dana get?
All right,
I'm not
Dana.
even looking at you guys. I swear.
Come on, Dana. Who you got?
Browns.
Oh, Chargers.
Oh,
okay. You know what? I have 2 words for you. Khalil Mack. Isn't that where he ended up? Khalil Mack?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, sorry, I had to think about that for a minute. Yes, I think that Justin Herbert and that offense, they're good, right? We got this. But they needed that powerhouse in the defense. They needed a big old boy in the middle to say, I'm going to take care of the rest of this AFC West. I'm going to pummel those quarterbacks. I'm going to go after them, and it's all about you, Mac. It's all about you. So the Chargers
defense wins championships.
They're going
to Eckler's going to help him.
Oh, y'all mark this day down because Lisa just said defense wins championships.
I know. Someone.
Well, she went defensive player, duh.
Clip that, please.
This will be our clip for the week on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it will be. I'm the one that does this. So here's the thing. The defense needs to stop those quarterbacks in the AFC West. They got the piece to do it. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm all in. See, that wasn't so hard. I'm going to save the rest of the teams. We're going to do a couple more next week. That was
fun. That was fun.
We're going to keep rolling. I'm going to get rid of the ones we've already done. And we're going to keep rolling. All right, everyone. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk tonight. We want to talk about fantasy football. We had a couple of great guests lined up, and this is the week that everything is crazy. So unfortunately, they had to cancel. And we thought, you know what? We can do this. We've been doing this for a while, right?
Got this.
Yeah. Literally, I think we've been playing fantasy football together for 8 or 9 years now.
Sticky notes. We got sticky notes. We're ready.
It's been 10 years. You know why?
Why? Where is she going? Oh, her shirt! She was a fantasy football champion. Okay, we've been doing this for 10 years, apparently. Who knew? All right, Sonia, love it. Well, here's the interesting thing is we all have very different thought processes on how we go in on this together, how we deal with how we choose things. Lisa's is always different than everyone else's. I had this great friend, Hanley, on Twitter, and every year he would send me these spreadsheets, and it was so great, and I would always do really well. And then he stopped sending them to me, so now I have to do it myself. I'm very happy about that. But
what did you do to him?
I don't know. So, Hanley, if you're listening, feel free to send those sheets. But I'm very excited about this year because we have the fan league, which I'm really excited to get into, and that'll be super fun to play. I think they take it really seriously, so that'll be good.
We're gonna have fun with that one.
Right. But we wanted to go ahead and kind of do a mock draft. Now, we are doing this mock draft a little differently. We're going to do 12 picks. So that's how big that our leagues are. So each one of us will get to make 3 picks. And the thought behind this is who would you take in the first round? So now we understand that in a real mock that you're not going to get to pick 3 times in the first round. We get that. But if you had to pick from this position, who would you pick and how would you take them early in the round, late in the round, that sort of thing. And in the meantime, we're going to just kind of drop some information about fantasy football. If you ever need anywhere to go get some fantasy football advice, you know our girl Liz Loza. We have been friends with Liz for years. We're so proud of her. She's moved up to ESPN and she's having a great time up there. So we're thrilled for Liz. And she's always some great advice. A couple of my friend Jody is great. He's fantastic for fantasy football. There's so many. So lots of great resources out there. But we're going to do it our way. So what I decided, I went back to last year. You know, the year Lisa was going to win. Every year Lisa's gonna win.
I'm just letting y'all win some before I dominate.
10 years.
We've won once in 10 years.
Dominate.
Yeah. So I went back and I looked at our records last year and where we ended up. So actually Sonia ended up highest of the 4 of us in 3rd place last year. I was in 4th place. Kate, she was in 6th and Lisa was in 11th. But
I had injuries.
We all have injuries, Lisa. Here's the thing. I, though, had the best record in the league at 13-2 before the playoffs. And why did I get screwed? Because Lisa started the playoffs 1 week too late. So I had one game. All the guys sat. It was terrible, but we have a good time. So we're going to go do this as a traditional snake. We're actually going to start with Lisa since she was last year. Last of us. So we're not going to take long. And yes, Kate, my darling.
Are we assuming this is a PPR league?
Yes.
Yes, we're like pretend it's like our regular NFL.
Okay.
It gives the quarterback way too much credit. Yes, that league. For sure. All right, Lisa. Can I'm assuming I can go ahead and already write down who your first pick is going to be because I already know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead. Make your pick.
Patrick Mahomes, QB number 1, Kansas City Chiefs.
Let me tell you why you never take a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, whatever.
You don't take a quarterback in the first round because the quarterbacks, there's a huge chunk of them that get about the same number of points. And so most experts will tell you to wait, to sit on a quarterback until some of that middle rounds, 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, you'll be able to get them just then. But what happens? One person takes a quarterback, then there's a panic and everyone takes a run on a quarterback.
Go ahead, panic, ladies. Panic.
No. Not at all.
Sorry.
Kate,
off the board.
What do you think about Lisa's logic of taking a quarterback in the first round?
I don't mind a quarterback in the first round if you're in a 12-team league and you're picking 10th, 11th, or 12th. Because I think by the time you get through that many number 1 running backs, so in most of the leagues, I'm seeing Pat Mahomes projected around 600 points for the year, Josh Allen close to that. And then there's like this 50-point drop off till you get to the rest of the quarterbacks. If you're not going to get one of those top 6, 7 running backs, I would take a quarterback at the 10, 11, or 12 spot. I would never take one at the top spot because there's 4 or 5 that you're going to be able to get very easily in the second round. I wouldn't waste that first pick because now that you've taken him, you have to go in a 12-team mock 23 picks before you get to pick again. And there's not going to be a lot left for you.
Can I defend the logic? Can I defend the logic a little bit? Let me just defend the logic. How many first-round running backs got hurt within the first 6 games and actually played? A lot of those running backs were
last year
coming off the bench, and people were scrambling to get them. So my logic there is, I'm taking somebody who I know is going to put some points up. And also look at your points in your leagues because some people change them. Our league point system's a little different. It favors quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. I mean, everybody gets the love. So, to me, it's like I watch Christian McCaffrey every single year. These experts. Oh, you got to get Christian. He played what? 1 game, 2 games last season.
Mm-hmm.
Who saw Jonathan Taylor come off the bench? Nobody picked Jonathan Taylor. In fantasy.
Dana did.
Yeah, but she picked him up. But nobody projected him to have
she drafted him.
I drafted him. Yeah,
Dana drafted him.
But Lisa's not wrong there. There's a lot of times that some of those higher end picks, they end up being surprises. So I totally get that, Lisa. I totally get it. Where you have the consistency of a quarterback at the top spot. I get it.
But that's why you have to be really careful when you're taking that running back. I'm not taking Christian McCaffrey top 4 because he's got Baker Mayfield this year. They're going to rely on him a lot, and he's been hurt a lot. I'm going to look for somebody. I don't want to give away my pick. I'm going to look for somebody who's got a better offensive line and who's a little more durable and has been proven to stay a little healthier in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kate, that's good intro because you are next on the clock. So who is it that you are taking? I'm taking Austin Eckler, Los Angeles Chargers. I love him. I rode him to the Super Bowl championship in one of my other leagues last year. I don't have my trophy yet. Gentlemen, if you're listening, we had our draft Sunday and I still don't have my trophy. I want my trophy from last year. I mean, it's not the Donkey Cup, but it's a pretty sweet trophy, and I want it for my year. But Eckler is just he had a little bit of an injury issue last year, but it was just for a couple of weeks, and then he bounced right back from it. And there's enough surrounding him that he's going to get plenty of touches. He's going to get plenty of touchdowns. He's going to get plenty of yards. And I'm not as concerned about his durability as I am some of the other guys. NFL fantasy football has him ranked as the 5th pick of the draft. Yeah. So he's considered very high up there. He's expected to.
Yeah, I see his name all the time. Kate.
A lot of great passes. And I think that it'll be interesting to see if they rely on him more this year or less, because I feel like they're kind of switching that offense a little bit to more pass heavy, but I think he's just too reliable that they're going to have to keep him.
Well, I just look at the defenses and the other teams in his division, and they're going to have a hard time passing the ball because they're going to be up against some very good secondaries and some weaker defensive lines. So for at least 6 of those games, I think he's going to stand out.
Absolutely.
Good pick.
All right. I get to go next because Sonia was higher than the rest of us. And ladies, I'm rolling with him once again, Mr.
I knew it.
Jonathan's coming off the board.
Yep, there goes Jonathan.
Am I the only one who thinks Jonathan Taylor Thomas every time somebody says Jonathan Taylor?
Yes.
I go JTT. Oh wait, it's not JTT. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Was that home improvement? Is that the home improvement? Okay.
Yeah. So here's the reason why I am in it. The Colts have had a change in quarterback this year. And so, this is not meant as any disrespect to Matt Ryan in any way, shape, or form, but he is older. So I really feel like they're going to rely on him to space him, to give him more time, maybe take some less hits, to keep him on the field, lessen his chance of injury. Plus, I just think they loved the flow they got out of him last year, as they should have. He was a fantastic player. And so for me, this is a no-brainer at this point. Yeah. He just seems to had they gotten a young, super dynamic quarterback, maybe not so much, maybe they would step back from him, but I just don't see that happen with Ryan. And I think it's going to be really exciting to watch. NFL fantasy. And that's just the only reason I'm using that one is because that's the one we use, has him ranked as the 1st pick overall. And I think that is pretty much straight across the board. You're going to get that a lot. So, all right, Sonia. Miss Big Wig 3rd place last year.
All right, give us the kicker. Which kicker you taking?
Kicker is no, just kidding.
All right, for my first pick in the NFL, in the Archer mock draft, I am taking Dalvin Cook, running back out of Minnesota. I think he has been. Injuries have kind of plagued him the past couple of years, but he's at least gotten off to a decent start. And even though, Kirk Cousins is serviceable, he's not my favorite quarterback by far, but he's serviceable. And I think that, they rely a lot on him. And so I think he's going to be a pretty good choice for me.
Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins is still Kirk Cousins.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, and that's no disrespect. He just is who he is. We know who he is. We
Yes.
know how he plays. And he is a good quarterback. I mean, people can argue that all they want, but he's a good quarterback. So I think the tandem of them worked so well that it makes sense. NFL Fantasy has him ranked as the 8th pick overall. I don't think that that's a crazy pick in any way, shape, or form. And in that division, I think having that strong running back is probably going to pay off pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, for
For
sure.
sure. All right. Well, as we are doing a snake draft, Sonia gets to pick again, which is the joy of picking.
Yee-hoo! I love it. So then I'd like to stick with running back, and we're going to go with Mr. Henry. Derrick Henry, running back out of Tennessee.
All right. Tell me why.
Why? Because he's Derrick Henry. He's the king. King Henry. I mean, I get it. Yes, he has, again, had some injury issues. And I did feel kind of that they kind of ran him into the ground last year. But he's Derrick Henry at the end of the day. And you got to at least go with him. If, things happen and other people pop up, there's waiver wires. But still, Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry. I'm interested. I'm intrigued that you got both your running backs in the first. That's
I always get him out of the way first.
Yeah. I'm going to go different. I'm going to go wide receiver with this pick. And I think really because I think truly, depending on where you are in your draft, it's very important to get those tier 1, players in their positions. And so it gets a little hard. Like Sonia, if you pick, let's say 12 and then 13, that's kind of a pain in the butt because it gets you 2, but then you have this huge gap where all the rest of those ones go away. But at the same time, if you play your cards right and no one has gone crazy for wide receivers or crazy for running backs in your league, you have a really good chance of getting another tier 1 player. And wide receivers, there's a handful of them, but there is one I just don't think can be argued with, and that is Mr. Cooper Kupp.
I knew you were going to say it.
Mr. Fantasy Points himself.
I almost thought Justin Jefferson. I really was going back and forth on that. I wasn't quite sure, but I just feel like even with Stafford's questionable elbow, wrist, arm, shoulder, whatever the hell is wrong with him that they're not really talking about, I still think even after last year and with Kupp's talent, there's just absolutely no way to ignore it. I do think too that when you look at that offense, it's very pass heavy. I think that that's really where they're going to lean. And yes, I mean, they got Allen Robinson too. I mean, they do. They picked him up. I get it. I just think that Kupp is still going to be that number 1 go-to guy. Because
for sure.
even when he's double teamed, it doesn't seem to phase him in the least. So Cooper Kupp for me. I think that's just my smart pick. Oh my God, if I got both of those 2 in the same draft, I'd lose my mind. I'm just letting you know. Okay. All right. Kate, you are up.
All right. So I thought you were going to take my favorite wide receiver, and you didn't. So we're still good.
Yeah.
I'm approaching this as if this is the 7th pick in the draft. So like I'm the 7th person, and it's my, my first pick for my team.
Love it.
And I still think there's still, I'm going running back. And the running back that I know, McCaffrey is still on the board. I'm not grabbing him at 7. I'm taking Najee Harris from Pittsburgh.
That's a good one too.
His fantasy stats last year, he had 1 game in single digits, and over half of his games were 20 points or more. And with the quarterback situation they got going in there with Kenny Little Hands Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and whatever else is going to go on, they're going to be running the ball a lot. That's Pittsburgh Steeler football. So I think at 7, Najee Harris is a really nice top tier running back that I can grab at this spot.
Did you really say Kenny Little Hands Pickett?
We call him T-Rex.
Oh, no, that's hilarious. So NFL Fantasy has him as the 13th pick overall. I don't think that that's, any question. The interesting thing I find, though, as we're sitting here talking about running backs, they still have Christian McCaffrey up there as the 2nd pick overall. We get it. He can do it. But can he stay on the field to do it? I think that it'll be interesting to see how far he falls. And someone who picks him up and then he manages to stay on the field is going to rock it. Absolutely rock their league. Right. It's going to be fantastic. So fingers crossed for you, Mr. McCaffrey. Okay. Lisa, you get to go again.
I do. I'm going to stay with like what you talked about with the top tier wide receiver. I think that's kind of good. You know, I teetered between two, of course, one of them being my homer pick with Tyreek Hill. But with Jalen Waddle, I just think you're going to see not great points because I think they're going to one game. I think you're going to see one do good, then the next game. So I think they're good. You know, I think they'll kind of diminish each other. I hate to say that, but as far as fantasy points, the one receiver that I think is going to be the go-to number one guy for this guy is Jamar Chase for the Bengals.
Oh, perfect.
That's a good one.
That's who I wanted to take, and I thought I'd have a little more time. And if we were in a real draft, Lisa, you would now be dead to me.
So we're going to take Mr. Chase off the board.
Oh, Lisa, I love that pick. I love the way that kid plays. I love everything about him. I think that is a hands down fantastic pick. And I just really feel like he's just going to keep building and building and building and just become that guy, right? Like, he's fantastic. You know, fantasy pick. We always say everything's shiny on paper. Yes, we know anyone can get hurt, and we have to keep that in mind. But you still have to put the best people available to you right in front of you. I think that is really important. Well, the joy, Lisa, is you get to pick again, and for our little, you get to take your final pick in this.
This is a little bit of a pick off of just something that kind of I've just been watching in the preseason, and this kid came out of Florida, you know, as one of the best athletes in the draft. I'm going to go tight end Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
That's a great one.
I think the Falcons and Marcus Mariota, I think he's going to be his blanket, and the kid catches everything thrown his way. You got a little glimpse of it last night. Some fantastic catches. So I think him and Mariota are really going to have a good rapport, and I think he's going to put up some really good numbers. So I'm going to pull Kyle Pitts off the board.
I had Kyle Pitts last year, and he would have on games and off games, but you could tell it wasn't always him. And it wasn't, if you watch, because I know not everyone watches all the football games like we do, because we watch them all, but you could really kind of see the days that he was off and he was on, and it coincided with Ryan. And it was, I don't know if they just didn't always click. I'm not sure what was going on there, or if the scheme was just different, but he would have monster games and then disappear on me. And so, but I held on to him for the whole season because some of those matchups were really good. So I think that's a decent pick. All right, Lisa, that's your team. Lisa picked Patrick Mahomes, Jamar Chase, and Kyle Pitts. Good luck actually getting all those guys in a real thing. Okay, Kate, who's your next pick?
So I'm going tight end as well. I looked at, again, if I was picking 10th out of 12 teams in this draft, I'm going to pick again in another couple spots. And I think there's a tight end out there who's worth more than the best available wide receiver at this point. I'm surprised Lisa didn't go there, but I kind of understand why she didn't. And it's Travis Kelce. Because while you love to double up on those kind of combos, if one of them has a bad game, they both have a bad game. And so,
that's true,
you know, and there's no world in which someone is going to get Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce in the same draft. So that's not going to happen. So I would go, like I said, there's a couple other wide receivers I really like that are still available. Dan, you mentioned Justin Jefferson and that kind of thing. But I think there's a big step to the next group of tight ends. So at the 10th spot, I'm getting my number one with Travis Kelce.
Really, when it comes to tight ends, you're absolutely right. There are let's say honestly, 2 elite tight ends at this point, especially with Gronk out. And not that Gronk has been all that elite the last couple of years, but really you have Kelce, Mark Andrews. Baltimore.
Yes.
Everybody forgets about Mark Andrews. He is so right.
I got him in my draft last weekend in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is why I love playing in a draft with all Cleveland Browns fans, because kicker Cade York and the Browns defense went before Tom Brady. I can get Baltimore Ravens and Steelers all day because I play with guys who won't touch them. And I'm like, this is a fantasy league for a trophy, people. I was excited to get Mark Andrews in the 4th round.
And then Kyle Pitts sits kind of right there depending on his game. But I really think that once you get those top couple tight ends, you can wait a few rounds at that point because they're not going to go as fast and they're not as strong as they were. But Kelce and Andrews for sure, Kyle Pitts on certain days, they score at a wide receiver running back
Next
level.
right? Exactly.
And especially now, I think with Kelsey being the guy, now that Tyreek Hill is down in Miami, yes, he's going to get doubled on every play. Yes, he's going to pull defenders. But that doesn't mean that he won't out-jump them, because that is the one thing about Travis Kelce is he will go up and over people, and he's not afraid to, because he's a tight end, not a wide receiver. And so I think that he's one of those guys that really could, kind of transition you have to wait on some of these positions. He's not one that you would have to think of for sure.
Yeah, and in most leagues, there will be 2 wide receiver spots, like 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, one tight end, and then a flex.
Yeah.
And in those kind of situations, I personally think it's really important to get one of those top 2 or 3 tight ends, because that's your one guy except for his bye week. That's that guy that's going to carry part of your team, and you can mix and match the hot hand in those other positions.
Without question. All right, now I got to pick somebody, and she picked him. She took him. You know what? I mean, I could take Andrews. If it were me, I would take Andrews if I was doing a real draft. But since we just got done talking about tight ends, I'm going to take someone else.
You can take a 49er. It's okay.
Oh, no, that's not it. Just Stephon Diggs or Joe Mixon. I'm taking Stephon Diggs. I'm going to take another wide receiver at that point.
I was about to say, we're about to auto pick.
Yeah.
You're on the clock.
I'm going to take Stephon Diggs. Listen, Bills.
Why Diggs?
Huh?
Why?
Here's the thing. I think, as I did, the Buffalo Bills and their fans thought last year was their year. I think that I said, remember, I picked them to win the Super Bowl. I'm like, this is it. This is it for them. They're going in. And that Chiefs game, that chip on their shoulder is so huge now. I think they're going to go off again this year. So the Bills are very high on my list to win Super Bowls. If I got the Bills, I'd gone for out of the hat. I would have gone on for an hour about why they're winning the Super Bowl. But here's the thing. I think that team is very well balanced, but Diggs is still the guy. And so Josh Allen is going to look for him first every single time. And so I think he's going to have huge numbers, and he seems real durable. So I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs on that. I don't think that's even weird. Like, I think that's like a totally normal pick. Yes.
Why Stephon Diggs at pick 11 and not Josh Allen?
Because I don't take quarterbacks before round 4.
Cool.
I don't.
All right, there you go.
Do it.
That's why I love being in the league with Dana. I don't have to worry about her just taking the quarterback just because I want him.
Because if you know your league, I'd do the same thing at 11, and I'd grab Josh as my second pick of the second round.
Yeah.
Because he'd probably still be available if you know the people in your league well enough to know, or you grab him, and then that's definitely a team where I would double up if I could.
Yeah.
And then this year with the quarterbacks, there's some good quarterbacks. There's some quarterbacks that can put up some numbers, from Russell to, even let's look at Pittsburgh with Mitch or Kenny. I mean, there's numbers that can be had by some of these quarterbacks. And you still have, let's see, you got Russell, you have Aaron Rodgers. We haven't even talked about Aaron, Tom. So
Russell's very interesting to me, because I think all of the platforms are having a hard time projecting his points for this year.
Yep.
They're really having a hard time, because you really can't go on what he did, because he wasn't in a happy situation for a little while, and then now he's in a whole new place. And so I think they're struggling.
Offense.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to see, depending on how the season goes, is he may be an object available for trade early in fantasy football, or that people are going after. If you're picking up a backup quarterback in the later rounds, which I always do.
I do too.
Russell, if he's still available and you've already got your quarterback, I would be grabbing him as something that if somebody might want to, if there's an injury or something, might want to trade you for, he could be a lot higher value than what they're projecting him to be this year.
We're going to talk here in just a couple of minutes about just general tips on fantasy football, and quarterbacks is definitely one I want to talk about. All right,
still got a pick, right?
Finish this up. Who are you picking?
Take a kicker.
Last pick,
Please
Sonia?
take a kicker.
I'm not taking a kicker. Although if I were to take a kicker, it'd be Justin Tuck. Anyways.
Tucker.
Cade York.
No, for my pick, it would be Mike Evans, wide receiver out of Tampa Bay, because he has always been kind of decent, and you got Mr. Brady down there. He's always a good target for him. Yeah,
he struggled last year a little, didn't he? Was out
just a little bit. I think. Yeah, I think he got Julio. Yep, and I got Julio. So yeah. But yeah, I think he struggled. I think he had a hamstring or something, or an ankle. I can't remember. I think it was lower body. Yeah. But he did me decent. He did me decent last year. Yeah. So I still like him.
Oh, I mean,
I would just worry about him with Julio now, because Julio's a catching machine.
True.
So and Tom likes receivers that can catch the ball. So I think I would kind of be a little bit cautious on that, just because of Julio's presence.
All right, so we finished it up. So Lisa has Mahomes, Jamar Chase, Kyle Pitts. Kate has Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, and Travis Kelce. That's strong, Kate. That's strong for sure. I have Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, and Stephon Diggs. Sonia took Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Mike Evans. Here's the thing. These are dream teams, because even in a 12 person, because I hate playing anything over 12. 12 teams.
Yeah, it's just too much.
You get to 16 and you have one star and the rest is just filler. And I hate that. So I think that makes sense. But these are dream teams, and this won't happen. But all of these players we picked would be great first round picks. All of them would be. I don't think that you could get any flack for any of them. But here, let's talk just a little bit about some general fantasy football information. I'm going to start with Big Red's comment here, because he's right. Make sure you have good backups to keep your depth strong. And that is it. Now, I want to know from you guys, what do you guys think about the handcuffing principle? So let's say DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. You pick up DK, and there are people who will take Tyler Lockett also, because if DK gets hurt, Tyler Lockett will get those extra points. Or, so they handcuff two players from the same team, tight end and backup tight end, whatever it may be. What do you think of that concept? Lisa, let's start with you.
Well, with me, that's a great in for me, because I've got that problem down here with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So if I handcuff those two, my biggest thing would be on game day, who am I benching and who am I not?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I understand it. It's a great concept, but I like depth. I would like depth coming from another team. I would like a second tier coming from another team, not the same team. I just think you get into a situation where both are healthy. And then at that point, what you're doing is every single week you're playing the player off of schemes, like Kate said, like defenses. What defense am I coming up against? Which wide receiver am I going to put in? I think will have a better game. So I'm going. I don't like that off the same team. I'd like the second, third tier off of another team.
I think too, in that situation, Lisa, you bring up really good. What happens if two of them? Then those two guys are working with a backup quarterback.
Right.
So either one of them might get good points at that point.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting concept. The other thing too, and Kate, I'm going to take this one to you. There are a lot of people who think like I do. Graham said this. He's like, no quarterback before at least fourth round. I understand what you said before about quarterbacks. But where this is interesting to me is when you get into that depth of the quarterback, when you get into, you take two quarterbacks. And why I think it's interesting is exactly what you said. And I want you to elaborate on it, is because of the trade value later. How often and which positions do you do that where you will hold on to a player simply for their trade value?
I do it with quarterback, and I do it back to the conversation we just had. I'll take a backup running back, not the backup to the running back on my team. If I have a Browns running back or if I have Austin Eckler, I'm not taking his backup. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey's backup, because if that guy gets hurt, I've got that backup to offer in a trade. I'm like, oh, and I've got your starter now, and what will you give me for him, kind of a thing. And I do that a lot with quarterback. And sometimes what I'll do is after my bye week, I look at the bye weeks a lot. After my bye week, I'll start the other quarterback and offer up I love to do trades. And I find that in our league, we don't do a lot of them. People don't accept a lot of them. I'm in another league. There were 3 trades offered within half an hour of the draft finishing. And I'm like, all right, that's a little crazy. But I like to have another option at tight end. This will probably come as no shock to anyone. I don't do it at kicker and defense. On a bye week, I drop somebody I'm not happy with and pick up another kicker for that week, or I drop my kicker and pick up another kicker for that week. Do the same thing with my defense. I don't ever have two of them on my bench because it's not worth the hassle and the headache to have those kind of prima donnas arguing on my bench, and then I got to worry about who to play.
It's true though. There's a lot of people who get real freaked out about, well, I have to have two because of bye weeks. There are certain positions you do not, and kicker and defense are number one because their points are all so close together.
And I used to look at the bye weeks a lot more when I drafted, and I would draft one guy over another because I'm like, I already have two people out on that week. I don't want a third one. And then I got to where I'm like, you know what? So I have one bad week. I can go 13-2 and make the Super Bowl. Right? I can have one bit. This is my bye week. It's going to be it's going to be that week where my, somebody's going to get a free win because my team's decimated this week, but I'm much better off over the course of a season, so that I stopped worrying about it. The only time I look at it, like I said, is if I'm going to pick up a second quarterback, I make sure they're not on the same bye week because that kind of defeats the purpose of having them. That's really that one in tight end. I like to have a second really good tight end because again, you have those top 2 or 3 early, 4th or 5th round, you can get another very good tight end and just have him sitting on your bench. And if somebody's unhappy or somebody else's tight end gets injured, that's where they're looking for someone to make a trade with them.
For sure. Big Red has a question for us. He says, do you shuffle player based on opponents? I will tell you that I do. So I will take time and I will look out the week before. And this is not something that eats up a lot of my time, but I guess if you weren't super well versed in all the other teams around the league, it might take a little more time, but you just have to look at their defense. What have they been doing? And so if you have 2 decent running backs and one of them is going against a hellacious line, sit them on your bench, play your other one. You're more than likely to even if it's 2 or 3 extra points, that's more than you would have gotten before. So I think scheme can have a lot to do with it. Is every position as important? No, your quarterback's your quarterback, your defense is your defense. But I think that in some of those more skill positions, I definitely think that that's really important for sure. Sonia, there are a lot of leagues out there where we have an IDP, an independent defensive player. And I love that because I love defense. But I also think that you can get a lot of really good points out of an IDP. But there's a lot of leagues that don't play with one. Are you a fan of that, or you just want a plain old defense?
I do kind of like it because it's an extra chance for points. And if you get, if you get a guy who's going to give you quite a few, a couple sacks a game, then I'm keeping him, and that's defense for sure. Especially when we have that defensive player, I kind of look and see who they're up against and what kind of line they are. That's like a big thing for me with defenses. And I rotate my defenses. Like I'll just pick one up and then, just to draft it. But then I keep a fresh rotation of defenses. I'm not married to one by any stretch of the imagination.
I have a coworker who does that. I don't play they won't let me play in the league at the hospital because they think that I'll just murder them. And I don't think that's fair because you never know. It's like a crap. You never know. But I have a coworker who she rotates. She has a new defense every week, and it's whoever is playing against the weakest team. She does not care. So sometimes it doesn't work out because someone else already has, a couple of them, but she does that all the time. And she's consistent point-wise in her defenses. I think that unless you've got a historic level defense, one of those defenses, the Steel Curtain, LOB, the Vikings, Purple Field, one of the historic defenses, and we don't have one of those right now in the league, then I think that is a very easy way to just kind of rotate and keep things fresh. But some people are married to their defenses. I'm definitely not so. But all right. I have my last question for you because we're almost at 45 minutes, but I want to know from each of you, for fun or pay to play or both? Sonia, go first.
Fun. No me and money don't get along like that. I mean, like we do, but if I put money on it, guaranteed I'm going to lose.
Yeah. Kate, what about you?
I have done both. In the past, I have had seasons where I played 5 teams in 5 different leagues. And the most drama off the field, the most pain in the butt leagues were the ones where we paid to play.
Yeah.
Because people were complaining about trades and just complaining about the points and just everything. And it was just like, I don't need to play with a bunch of whiners. The people that are just playing for fun are just having fun. And there's a lot more smack talk. And I think we just enjoy it more because we're just having a good time. So I only do it for fun now.
Yeah. Lisa, what about you?
Because I'd win it all. So, I would just like to, no.
Lisa's always winning, people, if you haven't figured that out.
I would do fun because honestly, if it was a paid league, I'd probably be vomiting every weekend because of that. Because you always have that player where, when it's fun, you leave on the bench that scores 56 points. And
Exactly.
he's on, and if that player would have won you $1,000, I'm going to throw up. So I'm like, I just want to.
And there should be an award for that each week, or like some kind of a bonus. Like we should, if there was a way to do that in our league, where whatever team left the highest scoring guy in the league on their bench gets an extra 10 added to their score, or you send them a certificate or something, because
it's heartbreaking and it's just for fun. I couldn't even imagine having money on the line.
Yes.
Right. I learned a long time ago that I could never play for money. First of all, it would take all the fun out of it for me because I'd be too stressed out. But I have a friend whose husband plays in a league where it is $1,000 to play.
Yeah, see, I can't. I would vomit.
I'd be like, and then what happens? You have 3 injuries. You're just out of grant, baby. I have a lot better things to do with $1,000 than wasting football. I mean, you learn a lot.
The last money league I played in was $100, and it was at my husband's work. They finally had an opening and let me play. I had to play my husband in the Super Bowl.
Oh, geez.
He will tell you that he let me win. Happy wife, happy life. But I will tell you that I set my lineup and he set his lineup, and my team still beat him. And we split the winnings. And then they disbanded the league afterwards because a girl won the league.
My God.
I swear to God, it was
a girl
10 years ago.
I do have a friend who
Lisa has a friend.
Who plays fantasy, and it's a really cool. What they do is they do a money pot. Everybody puts in, and then whoever wins donates that to their charity.
That's
cool.
I could do that. I could do that. Because that's not, but I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
And and it helps out, and whoever wins, that's the charity that gets all the money. So I could do that.
So we are going to wrap it up with Big Red's last statement here. It said, are the players aware of their points in fantasy? And here's what I want to know. I want to tell everyone, and listen to me. Get close. Come here and listen to me. Do not tweet at a player about fantasy football. It's obnoxious.
I never have.
And they do not care if your team lost because they dropped a ball. Shut up about it. Grow up and get over it. Do not tweet a player about fantasy football.
Please
and on
don't.
that note.
But they're aware.
Yeah. What?
But they're aware. They know where their fantasy points are. They know how they're doing. They know where their ranking is.
Right.
But you're right. That's just we could probably do a whole show on the list of things you should not hit social media about and tag players in. But fantasy football is that's just petty.
Unless they got you a win. Now I have tagged
one at a time.
I've tagged people in a win. Thank you so much.
Thanking them.
Yes.
Thanking them. All right, everybody. That is it for us this week. Thanks for everyone who joined in. Thanks to our listeners who gave us questions. We will be back next Tuesday right here, 8 p.m. Eastern time. On YouTube and on Twitter. But again, you can now find us on all your favorite podcast sites. So
is that our Pick'em show next week?
Our Pick'em show no, 2 weeks.
When I'm in vacation.
Oh, are you going?
Always on vacation.
I'll send my picks to Sonia again.
Okay. So this is what she's talking about, everybody. The Tuesday before the season starts.
Yep.
We do our big Pick'em show.
Always in Jamaica or somewhere.
But the season starts September 8th, right?
You guys, listen. Can I finish my sentence, please?
No.
We do a pick'em show where we pick the divisions, we pick the AFC and NFC championship winner, and we pick the Super Bowl winner. And then later in the season, we're going to go back and tell you how wrong we were, because every single year we are dead wrong. I will say, though, we always give Kate kudos. She was the only one that said the Raiders were going to do anything last year, and they actually played really well. So, all right, everyone, we'll be back next Tuesday. We hope you can join us then. I hope everyone has a great night. Goodbye, everybody.